The Word of God says, "God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore we will not fear, even though the earth is removed, and though the mountains be carried into the midst of the sea. Though the waters roar and be troubled, though the mountains shake with its swelling. There is a river whose streams make glad the city of God, the holy place of the tabernacle of the Most High. God is in the midst of her. She shall not be moved. God will help her just at the break of dawn. The nations raged, the kingdoms were moved. He uttered his voice, and the earth melted. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge. Come, behold the works of the Lord, what desolations he has made in the earth. He makes wars cease to the end of the earth. He breaks the bow and cuts the spear in two. He burns the chariots in the fire. Be still, and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge." Psalm 46 is a powerful reminder that God is the ultimate refuge, the true fortress in times of distress and chaos. In a world marked by crises, uncertainties, and disasters, this passage echoes a timeless message. In the midst of chaos, God remains sovereign and unshakable. He is the anchor for those who trust in him, even when everything around seems to crumble. The psalm begins with a statement that strengthens our faith. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Here the psalmist establishes the foundation of our trust. God is not a distant or absent help, but present. He is with us in difficulties, no matter how desperate the situation may be. This is extremely relevant today, as fear and anxiety have become constant companions for many people. We live in a time when crises, be they economic, environmental, or personal, seem constant. Yet this psalm invites us to remember that in any distress, God is always a present help. Verse 2 continues with a radical challenge to faith. "Therefore we will not fear, even though the earth is removed and though the mountains be carried into the midst of the sea." It is a powerful image of destruction, representing humanity's greatest fears. The earth, the foundation of our physical existence, disintegrating, and the mountains, symbols of stability and strength, being cast into the sea. Even so, the psalmist tells us not to fear. This is an unshakable faith that transcends physical and visible circumstances. Today, the world seems to be in constant flux, not always for the better. We see natural disasters, conflicts between nations, and the fragility of our society exposed in ways never seen before. Psalm 46 teaches us that even if everything around us crumbles, be it in the physical world or in our personal lives, we need not be consumed by fear. Trust in the Lord is the firm rock on which we stand. There is a river whose streams make glad the city of God, the holy place of the tabernacle of the Most High. The image of a river flowing peacefully through the city of God, bringing joy and life, contrasts with the raging waters mentioned earlier in the psalm. Here, the river symbolizes God's continuous presence that flows and sustains those who dwell in him. In today's times, when so many people seek peace and contentment in the wrong places, this verse reminds us that true joy and peace come from God, from dwelling in his presence. God is in the midst of her. She shall not be moved. This is a declaration of divine security. When God is at the center of our lives, no matter what happens around us, we will not be shaken. And this is a promise we can carry into today. When we place God at the center of our existence, he strengthens and sustains us, regardless of the storms we face. Our strength comes from his constant presence. The following verses describe the chaos of nations and kingdoms, but with one word from God, he uttered his voice, and the earth melted. This image reminds us that despite all the power of kings and nations, God's voice is supreme. In today's world where global conflicts, wars, and political tensions seem endless, Psalm 46 invites us to remember who is really in control. No matter how the nations move and how unstable political power may be, God's sovereignty never wavers. Come, behold the works of the Lord, what desolations he has made in the earth. Here we see God's power over human conflict. He is capable of putting an end to wars and dismantling weapons of destruction. And even though it may seem that world peace is unattainable, the psalm reminds us that God has the power to bring true peace, not only among nations, but also in our hearts and lives. In a world so divided, it is vital to remember that the peace we all long for can only come from God. Be still and know that I am God. This is perhaps one of the most well-known and profound verses in the Bible. In the midst of chaos, God calls us to quiet our hearts and recognize His sovereignty. He does not ask us to fight or resolve everything on our own. Instead, He invites us to rest and trust in Him. In today's fast-paced world, where we are always rushing, trying to fix everything and control every situation, this is a word we should take deeply to heart. God calls us to quiet our souls, to cease our anxieties, and to fully trust in His power and His timing. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge. The psalm ends with a powerful reaffirmation. God, the Lord of hosts, is with us. He is not just a distant God, but a present God who fights for us and protects us. In times of uncertainty and fear, we can take refuge in His power and His faithfulness. Application for today, Psalm 46, is an invitation to trust in the sovereignty and power of God, even in times of chaos and disorder. Today, as fear and uncertainty seem to dominate the global landscape, this passage challenges us not to be shaken by the circumstances around us. We are called to trust that God is our refuge, our fortress, and our very present help in every trouble. It is easy to be consumed by fear when we look at the state of the world: wars, natural disasters, economic crises, and much more. But Psalm 46 reminds us that no matter what happens, God remains in control. He is the only one who can bring true peace, not only to the world, but also to our hearts. This psalm is a call to silence our worries, quiet our souls, and remember that God is sovereign. When we choose to trust Him, we find a peace that surpasses all understanding, a security that goes beyond circumstances.